Well, we're going to move on. Next up on the program, in Manipur, after violence on the first day of the new year, another spell of violence was reported from Moreh on the Myanmar border today. In the last 24 hours, at least 4 people have died, at least 15 people have been injured, including 7 security personnel who had to be airlifted from Moreh to Imphal. There's once again a huge concern over the spread of looted automatic weapons.
A curfew, much tension at Lilong, in the Thobal district, just 15 kilometers from capital Imphal. A day after 4 people were shot dead and 8 people were injured. After indiscriminate firing with automatic weapons by a group of men who came posing as Manipur police commandos in vehicles resembling those used by security forces, allegedly for extortion. The incident has revived major concerns over looted weapons during Manipur's ethnic violence last year.
इन्होंने लॉ एंड ऑर्डर सिचुएशन को अच्छी तरह से मेंटेन करना चाहिए था। यूनिफॉर्म पुलिस कमांडो का ये यूनिफॉर्म ड्रेस पहना के यहाँ पे आके डिमांड करने का ये यहाँ तक उनका विल्स, यहाँ तक उनका ये हिम्मत आया है।
After months of ethnic violence in Manipur, in the new year, violence continues in the state, and the bigger concern is the use of automatic weapons. Between May to October last year, in the peak of ethnic unrest, according to government data, 5,600 weapons were looted from police armory, and till October, only 1,500 of them were recovered. 6.5 lakhs ammunitions were looted, and only 20,000 were recovered in the same period. But this is not the only worry for Manipur. For past couple of days, Moreh along the Myanmar border has become a war zone between suspected militants and security forces. Today, rocket-propelled grenades were fired upon security forces, injuring 7 persons seriously.
We have been reported and from many sources, the mercenaries from the Myanmar side, their involvement is highly, possible. Operation is going on jointly with state security force and the central forces.
Lasting peace in Manipur appears to be a very difficult task right now. With BM Sanju in Lilong, Manipur, in Guwahati, Ratndeep Chaudhary, NDTV.
All right, so the unending sorrow in Manipur, the violence continues. Joining us now to look at what some of the major security concerns are presently and the implications, Hoinu Hausel, she's a senior journalist, Lieutenant General Dr. Konsam Himalaya Singh, Rajat Sethi, and B.L. Vora, the former Director General of Police in Manipur and the former Home Secretary of Manipur. Thank you all very much for being with us. General Konsam Himalaya Singh, the Chief Minister seemed to suggest that there was the involvement of Myanmarese militia or insurgents in some of the violence that we've seen today. Could you share your thoughts on that? Is that what we are now seeing in some of the border areas?
Thank you very much for inviting me. At the outset, I would like to say that Indo-Myanmar border is a very loosely controlled kind of a border. In fact, as you are aware, that we used to have a free movement regime with Myanmar, and we found that this 1,642 kilometers long Indo-Myanmar border, there are a lot of security concerns. With that as the backdrop, you can imagine the number of people and the security concerns that exist even today. You have many thousands in Mizoram and a few thousands in Manipur and other places as well. So therefore, it's no surprising that the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India and Honorable Chief Minister of Manipur has said that there is a possibility of certain elements from across the border to have been involved. Having said that, I must also say that we have just completed about 8 months of violence in Manipur between certain groups, ethnic groups, and which the border is populated by people from on both sides. So we have the Nagas, the Kukis, and other various other tribal groups there. So therefore, I do not rule out any kind of external elements being involved in that. But it must be seen in the context of the violence that has taken place in the state for last 8 months or so. It's a very serious national security issue here because we have certain interests of geopolitical issues there, the Chinese interest, the Western interest, and even our own interests lie in across the border also in view of our Act East policy. So I will this much for to start with our conversation. From
Next, sir, the fact that you've got 5,600 automatic weapons, mostly all automatic weapons, which were looted, 6.5 lakhs of ammunition which was stolen, that RPGs, rocket-propelled grenades, were used today, just makes this an entirely different kind of situation. It's actually a war. 5,600 rifles is what armies operate with. These are forces within a state of India.
Okay. You're right.
One second. That question for Mr. B.L. Vora. Mr. Vora, go ahead.
See, the point is that, of course, your tagline today is peace is still distance. Yes, it is. It will continue to be. Now, you raise the questions of the weapons. Definitely, it's a very big concern. Such a huge number, and we got barely 1,500 weapons back. Now, where will these be used? Obviously, by those people who are working against the state of Manipur. They will go to other states also, maybe other countries also, because it means also a lot of money for them. Now, there, I must say honestly, my view is that the state government has totally failed. Even I would say that they have been working along with the army and other security forces also. The success has not been much. Now, there are many other factors also complicating the situation. Now, talking of the Moreh border, any violence that takes place in Moreh necessarily means relating to smuggling, drugs, and all these issues. Now, the drug lords and the drug issue has been a major factor in this worsening of situation in Manipur from May onwards now. Now, in Myanmar, situation is bad between army and insurgent groups. So they find shelter in the border areas of Manipur, those people when they attack the Myanmar's army. So they find Manipur an easy target, and our insurgent groups also join hands with them. And just going across from Moreh is so easy. See, there is of course a treaty also where you can go across each other, the local residents, up to 20 kilometers. So that is another thing. Now, I think at the state government level, action is being taken, but I think this action is not enough. Invisible action maybe have been taken, I don't know, maybe it should be there, but then the effect is zero if you ask me. There's practically no improvement at all in this situation, and these incidents, I'm afraid, Vishnu, will keep on happening, continuing for a long time to come,
Yep.
unless very strong political and other measures are taken. My view is that the entire administration, many people who are hand in glove, they should be shifted out of the state. People from outside should be taken and posted there who are neutral and who are honest. I have served in Manipur for a very long time in 3 tenures, including as Home Secretary, and I am telling you, based on my experience, that unless drastic measures are taken, things are not going to improve, maybe for another decade or so.
Yep.
It may be a big statement to make, but I'm telling you, this situation is very bad, though on the face of it, it may not be much visible outside
Yep.
Manipur.
Rajat Sethi, would you like to respond to that? You know what BL Vora says, as somebody who served extensively over there, that we are looking at 10 years before the situation potentially gets better. The fact is that we've got thousands of automatic rifles out there. What is the solution right now, for some sort of a lasting peace?
Well, I think, see, largely many experienced voices of General Himalay sir and Vora sir have already spoken on this. And I believe that we can only hope that there is a sooner resolution of this. But more than anything, this is, Indian security forces, Assam Rifles is the one which mans the Indo-Myanmar border. They too are struggling to sort of ensure that there is no infiltration when we clearly know that there is almost a civil war going on in Myanmar. The PDF volunteers,
Yeah.
they are crossing over the border, still crossing over. In fact, there is a United Nations report on refugee. They say that more than 54,000 people have crossed the border from Myanmar into India, and bulk of them though are in Mizoram, but there are a good number of 10 to 15,000 in India. Some of them might as well be mercenaries acting or taking advantage of the turbulence there within the state. So there are 2-3 complex challenges. One is closing down the border and securing it so that there is no more infiltration. Second is ensuring that the weapons are brought back. The problem is that the state government doesn't know that whether those weapons are still within the state or they have crossed the border and are being used just to pinprick us whenever these militants and these insurgents feel like. So that information, I think the intelligence services will have to ensure that they figure out where these weapons are and ensure that mass combing operations are done.
Yeah.
And the third thing is to maintain peace after such events of violence. What happened in Lilong, by the way, was a separate event, less related to the ethnic conflict. It was more of extortion and drug trade related conflict. And this is what the NDTV report also says, that this had nothing to do with the ongoing conflict. This were a bunch of, proscribed PLA insurgent groups, which were anyway active even before this violence, who came in and gunned down people because of some drug trade related issue.
Yeah.
But the more serious part is Moreh. Moreh is a small town which is right at the border between India and Myanmar, and it's sort of a melting pot wherein a lot of different communities live together. And that's a fertile ground for insurgents and a lot of international actors to pinprick us, even especially at the time when elections are happening and any democracy goes through a turbulent time during elections. How do you use this as an opportunity to further bleed India? There are a lot of anti-India forces which might use this to scavenge and take an advantage out of it.
Hoinu, as we discuss the law and order situation and what we've been talking about, how is the central issue over here the profound differences for all sorts of reasons between various communities in Manipur still not been resolved? That unless the underlying tension, which is inter-community, goes away, nothing will really get resolved.
Vishnu, thank you so much for having me here. Today marks the 244th day of unrest in Manipur, and I'm here with a great sense of sorrow and a great sense of disappointment because we discussed the issue last summer and we're here in the thick of winter. I have been, of course, tracking the issue of Manipur, and few things that really come to mind. One, of course, is there a serious intent to really quell the problem? Because we discussed about Manipur being a very, very porous border state, and it's not a new thing. It's not a new knowledge or a new truth that tumbled out. We knew right from the time when Manipur became a state that it is a very strategic, which shares a very porous border with other countries. And we should have known what does it take to strengthen a very important border state like Manipur. The government should have been best equipped to solve those problems. And as I look at the problem today, we have to accept few realities. We have to accept that there is a problem there, and we also have to accept, and we cannot be in a state of denial anymore. We need to address the issue. There is an issue where if two communities cannot see each other eye to eye, and if we just leave it for them to solve, it's going nowhere. We are in the 9th month, as I just said. Therefore, there is a need and a crying need for the center to step in. We cannot just let lives be lost day after day. Every life is important. Every life is precious, and we are seeing it from a distance as if those life does not matter. Therefore, it is high time that the government steps in and understand that there is a problem, accept and get in with an intention, a right intention to solve it. I think it's about time that we also stop discussing what is it to be done. We know what the center needs to step in now. Vishnu, it's time. We can't let it linger
Yep.
on. Too much life has lost. And there is a need to accept there is a problem and a need to address what is it. If there are two communities, we need to speak to them. The center needs to now get down and talk. We cannot afford any more lives lost.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed now, Vishnu, with a great sense of disappointment. I'm here to imagine that an important state like Manipur is allowed to burn for the 244th day, and the world just goes
No,
by.
it is very
Yeah.
sad. General Singh, let me
Yeah.
come back to you. If you were to look at possible solutions going forward, we've spoken about peace communities, we've spoken about strengthening laws, we've spoken about strengthening the border, we've spoken about ensuring that the police is unbiased. But none of this seems to have taken us to an acceptable situation. What do we need to do as a country to actually resolve this crisis?
Okay. In my view, the first thing is to somehow remove or recover all the illegal weapons, not only those looted ones. There are far more number of weapons other than the looted ones also as well in Manipur. Recovering those should be the first priority. And for that, I would strongly recommend that the military and Assam Rifles, along with other security forces, be given a little more responsibility to use whatever measure required to recover these. That because a combination of weapons, combination of illegal money, and combination of drugs is a fertile ground for any kind of violence in any part of the world. That is the first thing. The second issue I would like to call upon is that, as our esteemed panelists have suggested also, it is the dialogue. Dialogue is the only way forward. And the center, in my opinion, has the means to make sure that the dialogue is carried out. So I would also strongly recommend that dialogue be at the political level, because the CSOs and other dialogue which have been going on for last 5 to 6 months have not really come out with any tangible positive results. So therefore, it's time that we facilitate, if need be, we put little bit of more pressure on the political establishment on both sides to make sure that they talk, at least they sit down on the table and start talking and towards a fruitful dialogue. These two issues, but there are many other steps that need to be done, in order to assuage the extreme positions of both sides, like the displaced people, then the looting, the extortion, and the various other private armies that are coming up.
Yes.
All these will fall into place once we get the dialogue going, and the weapons and the drugs and the illegal money that is floating, that have to be controlled in a very, very firm manner.
Yeah. Look, I'd like to thank you all very much for joining us, and this is something we'll keep talking about. But it is sad that the road to peace has still not been identified properly in the state. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here talking about this so many months later. People continue to lose their lives in a state where law and order, well, what's that? Thank you very much for joining us.